The Chernobyl disaster was a nuclear accident that occurred on the 26th of April 1986 at the No. 4 reactor in the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, near the city of Pripyat in the north of the Ukrainian SSR in the Soviet Union. It is considered the worst nuclear disaster in history, both in cost and casualties. The accident occurred during a safety test meant to measure the ability of the steam turbine to power the emergency feedwater pumps of an RBMK-type nuclear reactor in the event of a simultaneous loss of external power and major coolant leak. The test was poorly planned and executed, and the operators made a number of mistakes that led to the reactor overheating and eventually exploding. The explosion and fire released large amounts of radioactive material into the atmosphere, which spread over much of Europe. The radioactive fallout contaminated millions of acres of land and forced the evacuation of over 100,000 people from their homes. The immediate death toll from the accident was 31, but the long-term health effects are still being studied. It is estimated that the accident will eventually cause tens of thousands of deaths from cancer and other diseases. The Chernobyl disaster had a profound impact on the Soviet Union and the world. It led to a loss of public confidence in nuclear power and a slowdown in the development of new nuclear power plants. The accident also highlighted the need for improved safety standards in the nuclear industry. The Chernobyl disaster is a reminder of the dangers of nuclear power. It is important to learn from the mistakes that were made at Chernobyl so that we can prevent similar disasters from happening in the future. Causes of the Chernobyl disaster. The Chernobyl disaster was caused by a combination of factors, including a flawed reactor design, human error, lack of safety culture. The RBMK-type reactor that was used at Chernobyl was a graphite-moderated, water-cooled reactor. This type of reactor is known to be unstable and difficult to control. The Chernobyl reactor was also poorly designed, with a number of safety features that were not properly implemented. The accident was triggered by a safety test that was being conducted on the reactor. During the test, the operators made a number of mistakes, including shutting down the reactor's power regulating system and its emergency safety systems. This allowed the reactor to overheat and eventually explode. The Soviet Union had a long history of secrecy and lack of transparency when it came to nuclear power. This culture of secrecy contributed to the Chernobyl disaster, as it prevented the operators from learning from the mistakes that had been made at other nuclear accidents. Effects of the Chernobyl disaster. The Chernobyl disaster had a devastating impact on the environment and the people of Ukraine. The radioactive fallout from the explosion contaminated millions of acres of land and forced the evacuation of over 100,000 people from their homes. The long-term health effects of the Chernobyl disaster are still being studied. It is estimated that the accident will eventually cause tens of thousands of deaths from cancer and other diseases. The Chernobyl disaster also had a significant impact on the Soviet Union. The accident led to a loss of public confidence in nuclear power and a slowdown in the development of new nuclear power plants. The accident also highlighted the need for improved safety standards in the nuclear industry. Lessons learned from Chernobyl. The Chernobyl disaster was a tragedy that should never be forgotten. The accident taught us a number of important lessons about the dangers of nuclear power and the importance of safety. Some of the lessons learned from Chernobyl include: nuclear power is a dangerous technology that must be handled with extreme care. Reactor designs must be safe and stable. Operators must be properly trained and supervised. Safety culture must be promoted throughout the nuclear industry. The Chernobyl disaster was a wake-up call for the world. It showed us the dangers of nuclear power and the importance of safety. We must learn from the mistakes that were made at Chernobyl so that we can prevent similar disasters from happening in the future.